Thank you everyone for joining us today. The topic on AI-assisted screening tools and systematic reviews, a brief overview and considerations. What we'll be covering today, we'll go over the systematic review process, take a look at the tool landscape, how to navigate tool selection, a note regarding AI literacy, snapshot on some of the AI tools used for screening, a brief note on the current opportunities and challenges, takeaway, and resources. You may be wondering, why not just present on AI tools and dig in a little deeper on this topic? When it comes to tools, context matters. You have to consider, what is your aim? What is your purpose? Is the type of project you'll conduct, will that inform how the tool will be integrated? And in the systematic review process, there are various steps you have to take before you even get into the screening process. As you can see, screening is the seventh step. There is this research question that has to be formulated, a scoping search, building a good inclusion exclusion criteria, assembling the team, and so on. And it's important to know that if you are doing a systematic review, how is this defined? You need a pre-specified eligibility criteria, and you have to have a very specific research question. And of course, this is protocol driven, and this is driven collaboratively. And with research question formulation, there are various ways that you can tackle this. Of course, there are the non-AI approaches using a research question formulation tool such as Pico or Eclipse, or another question format that would be relevant to your discipline, in combination with the finer criteria to kind of guide you to shape the question further. Of course, also getting some ideas with additional tools like the Undermine Research Assistant or the Research Question Generator. And of course, guidance is also going to inform your systematic review. And regardless of discipline, there are various materials that you can use to conduct this project accordingly. And along with that, reporting is also going to be another aspect, especially in the screening process, in which you have to report why certain records weren't included or excluded. And the Prisma checklist would provide all of that information that you would need. The tool itself will not streamline the screening process for you. There is all this preparation. If you have a fuzzy research question, if you don't have a clear vision, your criteria, this will stagnate your project. And so you can have a really good tool, but if you don't do the work prior, it's going to add barriers. And so ideally, what you want is to have all of that prepared so that once you integrate the tool for screening, it will be a bit more seamless. And with the tool landscape, this is very vast. There are all types of tools that you can consider when you're screening. But just to give you some ideas of what this looks like, of course, many of the purpose-built AI-assisted tools have common features such as labeling, importing, and exporting. General purpose tools such as chat and cloud are also being explored for these screening tasks. But of course, the application is a little different because with the prompt engineering, right, this is really critical. And the level of detail and clarity will impact the type of outputs you'll get. And so these are kind of two different things. And with using any AI assisted tool, you have to reflect on your AI literacy skills. There are various definitions of AI literacy, but essentially you want to be aware and comprehend this technology in a way that you have performed the task accordingly, analyze, select, critically evaluate the criteria, and then of course having an awareness of your own personal responsibilities when using these tools. Now, being aware of the amount of tools that do exist, how do you navigate tool selection? And here are just some considerations. So we have training requirements, support, usability, performance? Does the tool update? Are there any costs? And of course, how are you going to prioritize these criteria? So, for example, if you are interested in a tool, but it's a high learning curve, is that something you can actually incorporate in your current project? If there's no support, if there's any issues, or the usability, if the user experience of the tool is not great, that's also going to be a barrier as to whether or not you use the tool. And how you want to put this all together, you want to kind of build a kind of like a tracking of if you're going to select a tool. First, ask yourself, do you need this tool for the systematic review? And so then it requires you to be knowledgeable of the current standards, assess your AI literacy skills, define your top priorities, map that criteria to the features, and so on. And so this can be a starting point for you for tool selection. Now we can talk about all the tools, but I just wanted to give you a snapshot of the three commonly used known tools. And the idea here is to give you some impressions. This is not a comprehensive view for all the tools, but as we're going along the different tools and features, think about what your particular needs will be for the screening process. So we will start with ASReviewer, which was first launched in 2018, and this was developed by a multidisciplinary research team at the Utrecht University. This is completely free and open source, and it also has a very active community presence. With the tool, you do have to install it locally, and it requires Python. The application as it stands does not have a built-in collaborative workflow. It does title abstract screening, but it also offers a variety of different models as well as guidance on how to use the tool effectively. And it provides analytics to track your process. And the other thing that it does when you import the records, it actually blinds the journal titles and names to help mitigate bias. And so here is a look of the platform. And as you can see, the author name and the titles are blinded. And for the machine learning, you only need one article that is relevant and another article that is irrelevant in order for it to learn. And the learning is dynamic. So every vote you make, it will then resort the records. And as I mentioned, they do have analytics, and this could be helpful if you do or have planned a stopping criteria. So the graphics will show the number of records that you have, the number of results that you've labeled as relevant, irrelevant. And so this could be important to you if you are thinking of implementing something like this. On to Covidence. This was launched in 2014. This is subscription-based, is also web-based. There is a trial option, but only for projects that are under 500 records. It does have a built-in multi-user collaboration workflow, a deduplication feature. It's essentially a full package tool. So it does title, abstract, full text review, along with data extraction and quality assessment. And in the data extraction and quality assessment, there are preset as well as customizable templates. It generates a Prisma flowchart, and with the machine learning, it starts to learn after 25 decisions. And it also has an RCT classifier. And so here is a glimpse of the workflow. And as you can see, you can have the Prisma report generated, the different settings set up here. And regarding the machine learning, if you wanted to apply, for example, the Cochrane RCT classifier, you would go under settings. It does also use large language models, but this is only specific to the extraction where it will provide suggestions based on what it text mines in the full text. And here in the middle under title abstract screening, you will get a notification when it's being activated and resorting your results. And lastly, we have Rayyan, which is a tool that has, of course, the title abstract and full text review. There are free options as well as subscription options. It's completely web-based, and it also has a mobile app. The free version, you can do up to 3 projects. It does have a built-in multi-user collaborative workflow. There is a blinding feature, which is controllable. So after you've done all the screening and you need to address conflicts, you can then unblind so that you can see all of the decisions that were made. Does have, of course, the deduplication feature. Um, After 50 records, so it only begins to learn at a higher level than perhaps other tools. And if you are doing the pay subscription, right, you have unlimited reviewers and additional features such as Pico highlighting and filtering, the Prisma flowchart, and you will have high priority if you have questions for the support team. And so here's a quick look at the Rayyan platform where you can see you can turn on the or off the blinding feature. And below here, you see how it does the duplication feature. And with respect to the machine learning, as I mentioned, after those decisions have been made, you actually have to then go into the platform under screening and then sort by rating. And then it will provide their suggestions based on what you have already selected. And in the last couple of months, all 3 of these tools have done enhancements. And so, for example, in Rayyan, they had some enhancements with the mobile app. Covidence also now includes multiple sub-outcomes for extraction. And ASReviewer has other additional models that you can test and pilot if you use that tool for screening. And so this provides a lot of opportunity for us in terms of how we can leverage the different AI screening tools. But with that being said, there is still um, some concerns about the accuracy, the performance of the different tools. And when you're following standards such as Cochrane, of course, as it stands, they are still resistant. For example, if you're using a stopping criteria, um, this is something that's not encouraged at this time. However, we know that with science, things can change, right? When there is more evidence to show these models are getting better, right? This might, of course, impact the current standards. So things to take away from today's coffee lecture is that you do want to review the guidance. You want to cultivate your AI literacy skills, consult with experts. If you're considering a tool, do assess the tool early in the protocol development stage, monitor these tool updates, and of course, check the literature to see if there's anything regards to those tool performance. And there are a variety of resources that you can consult with. So for example, the Unive has guidelines, which is currently also being updated that you can consult with. Also, we have a wonderful webpage with all of the different tools, as well as the systematic review toolbox if you're interested in seeing what software is listed there. And so we are aware that this is such a big topic as far as finding the right tools. And so we are currently part of an initiative called the Smart Screening Tool Initiative. We do want to find a solution for the University of Bern researchers and students. If you are curious and want to learn more, please feel free to contact Dr. Michelle Schaefer, our project initiator, or Dr. Aline Frank, our project lead. So thank you so much for your attendance. We can now stop the recording and see if there's any questions and comments on today's topic.